I'm really glad the sprinklers didn't go off. Just want to say that and putting it right out there. Thank you. So, with all of these Chanukiot, clearly we're in the celebration of lights, of Hanukkah. There is this incredible idea of all of these miracles, and yet the rabbis of old wanted to temper like all of the miracle-making kind of ideas. Because when you look in the original story of the books of Maccabees, which aren't in the Hebrew Bible, they're in the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha, only Orthodox Christians have the Apocrypha in their Bibles. Protestants don't, but Catholics and other orthodoxies within Christianity do. And the Apocrypha has a whole bunch of other kinds of wisdom books. And the books of Maccabees have like this historical telling. And in the books of Maccabees, it's all about them. God has nothing to do with this Hanukkah story. Well, I don't think the rabbis really thought that was a good idea when they came around a little bit later. And you saw a taste of it in the midst of that Modim prayer, in the middle of the prayer of gratitude, of thanksgiving. We were recognizing that this whole Hanukkah win on our side, it wasn't about our own might. It had to be balanced. God had a hand in it. And so then we have all of this sense of miracles, incredible miracles. The books of Maccabees don't say anything. Don't tell anyone. But the books of Maccabees don't say anything about the jar of oil lasting for 8 days. It's not mentioned. I know. It comes later in the Mishnah. The rabbis talk about it because, again, they're trying to say it's not all up in our hands. You need to remember God. And I think it's an incredible message. So the whole miracle with the oil in the 8 days, I still think it's true. I do. I don't know if it happened, but I believe it's true. But when we look at this sense of miracles, there's more that we can think about. You know, there's a popular saying in Israel. It says, if you don't believe in miracles, you're not a realist. And I think there's real truth to that too. Believing in miracles kind of comes naturally to descendants of a people whose very existence has been one continuous miracle. The fact that the temple was destroyed 2 separate times in Jerusalem, and in the ancient world, when the temple was destroyed, the God was destroyed with it. None of those other folks were really around, and here we are. Our sense of God could not be destroyed. God could not be destroyed. So after destructions of holy temples in Jerusalem, even the ashes of the Shoah, the Holocaust, and all of these tragedies all throughout history, I really think it's miraculous that we're here, all the more so in Boulder, Colorado. I say that to you all the time because, A, I'm from New York, and I think all of this is miraculous. But miracles, I think, are real. Chaim Weizmann, Israel's first president, believed it too. He said that miracles sometimes occur, but one has to work terribly hard for them. And that's the kind of miracle I also believe in. They're real, but we have to work hard for them. He was cautioning us against believing in miracles too much, relying totally on a miracle, waiting for everything to happen to us and not being accountable or taking control for our own lives. It's the position in between the Maccabees and the rabbis talking about the oil. People often say they don't believe in miracles, and yet, if you watch them, if you listen to them, if you have a sense of people's behavior or lack of it, you're going to see that they rely on miracles too much. Too much. They expect good things to happen without any effort on their part. And when bad things happen, it's never our fault. And sometimes that's true. Most of the time, I think it's true. But we have no place in what happens to us. We have no control and no sense of managing what comes our way. Something similar, as you might hear, is that people say that we're going to put it out into the universe. I'm not giving a critique, mostly. But you hear that a lot. We're going to put it out in the universe and see what happens. For me, that's kind of a wish upon a star. And if somebody really faithfully believes in that, then more power to you. Find strength from that. But my concern is that we're going to wait passively for things to happen to us or things to happen in our world. Our sages even warned us, the rabbis of old warned us, don't rely on miracles. They knew that wishing and hoping for a miracle will not make it so and not change our realities unless we're prepared to change ourselves and to work with God to translate those wishes into a reality, those desires into real deeds. So in the book of Maccabees, it was all about them. They caused everything that happened in the world. They caused the good reactions. They were able to liberate Jerusalem, and we get to celebrate with jelly donuts and latkes and cool things like that. And presents in moderation. But they also knew, our ancestors, it wasn't without God. So where do we find that balance? God's efforts and our efforts. So here's a little story. Students once asked a rabbi why God endowed us with skepticism. Why did God give us skepticism? After all, this student said, we have been taught that every living thing that God created has some kind of purpose in the world, but what possible purpose could skepticism serve? It only leads to doubt and even to denial. And the rabbi was ready with her answer. And she said, there are times when it is better not to have too much faith in the Almighty. When a poor person comes to you for help, he and his children are hungry, don't send him away with the assurance that the master of the universe is going to perform some miracle for him. That's when you use your skepticism. Act independently. Help the poor yourself. Let's not depend and wait for miracles. If we want our country to celebrate courage, justice, and compassion, how do we make that happen? If we want Israel to be strong and secure and safe and democratic, what are we going to do about that? If we want our synagogue community to thrive and be dynamic and inspiring and bring people closer to home, how are we going to play a part in that? If we want our children to be comfortable in their Jewishness and in their Judaism, committed to their past and committed to their future, what are we modeling for them so that we can help make that happen? If we want people in Boulder to stop freezing to death literally outside in this winter, how can we help? If we want those in our community to be safe instead of food insecure, to go without sufficient nutritious food, then what are we willing to give without being asked? If we want to express our gratitude on Thanksgiving, but only consume and not focus on the giving, then are we even grateful at all? How are we going to be God's partner and make some miracles ourselves? So, last story. I love this story. This story told about a very pious religious Jew who boasts to the rabbi that he saved another Jew's soul. And the beggar had asked him for a meal, and the man agreed, but insisted first that he pray the afternoon prayers called mincha. And before serving him a meal, he ordered this man who was begging for food to wash his hands, recite all of the appropriate blessings, and only then to recite the motzi, the prayer over the food, over bread, and then would be able to eat. And the rabbi was really annoyed with his student, a really good student. And the rabbi says there are times when you must act as if there is no God. And the disciples kind of taken back, shocked that the rabbi would say such a thing. How can you do this? How could I, a man of faith, act as if God didn't exist? And the rabbi said, when people comes to you in need, as this man did, act as if there is no God in the universe, as if you alone are in the world and there is no one else to help him except you. And then the student again challenges the rabbi. The student says, don't I have any responsibility for his soul? And the rabbi said, take care of your soul and his body, not vice versa. So I want to tell you this Hanukkah, keep believing in miracles. I think it's quite all right. I think it's good. I think it's healthy. And I think it's good for us. But the way to make them happen is to be God's partner, to show up, to be a part of something, to continue the work of creation, because it ain't done yet. And we need each other to do that. Okay.